Welcome to this episode of the Artist to Artist podcast. This is the show dedicated to helping makeup artists build successful and sustainable careers. My name is Angie. I'm a full-time makeup artist and educator. And in today's episode, you may want to grab a pen and paper for this one. We are going to be talking about the importance of professionalism in makeup artistry. So this means doing everything you can to present yourself professionally, regardless of where you're at in your career. This is one thing I think can have a huge impact on your reputation and how clients treat you. So if you are an aspiring makeup artist, maybe you're still in school, maybe you're thinking about makeup artistry as a profession, or maybe you're just in the first few couple years of your career, the sooner you can get it together and learn how to present yourself professionally, this is going to change how people see you and how people treat you. I hear from a lot of makeup artists about difficult clients they've had, about jobs that they've had that haven't gone well, people not treating them nicely. Now, there is a certain percentage of people out there that are just going to treat you poorly, and this is just human nature. Our industry is very interesting. There's some great people that you're going to meet, and there's going to be a lot of situations, especially early on, where people are not going to treat you so well. But I can tell you this, the sooner you learn how to present professionally, the sooner people are going to treat you as a professional. So we've all had those clients that are looking for a deal, that show up late to appointments, that don't show up at all, that cancel last minute, don't let you know they're canceling, that are second guessing your applications maybe. I know this happens to a lot of us. I've talked to so many of you that have shared these concerns with me and have shared experiences with me where you have clients that just treat you horribly and you don't know what to do about it. A lot of the times, as I just mentioned, people can be difficult, but sometimes, and I say this very often, especially when people ask me about difficult clients that I have, I always say you get what you give. I think the one area of my business that people ask me the most about is bridal, and they always ask, do you work with bridezillas? Do you have very difficult clients? And the reality is, right from the get-go, as soon as my bridal clients reach out to me, I communicate with them in a very professional manner, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that means a little later on in this episode. I treat them with respect. I'm very clear about the services I have to offer, what my boundaries are, what my booking policies and procedures are. So when it gets to the point where I'm standing in front of them to do their makeup, they're often not giving me a lot of hassle. There are contracts involved. I set the tone for how I want to be treated in my communication with them. And I also treat them as I would want to be treated if I was a bridal client. When people ask me, do you work with bridezillas? It's very rare. Do I have clients that ask a lot of questions, sometimes are difficult, picky? Yes. But as far as like complete off the rails bridal clients who are trying to take you to court if they don't like your bridal makeup application, no, I don't work with people like this because my booking process weeds out a lot of those people. But we're going to get into that in just a second. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what you can expect in this episode. We're going to be talking about sort of setting the foundation for presenting yourself as a professional. So your first impressions. We're going to talk about your booking process and how important this is to show clients that you are a working professional. We'll talk about professional communication. We'll talk about establishing boundaries as well. And then I will also share some of the experiences that I've had and why I know that taking these steps in your business can be such a huge advantage to you and will eliminate a lot of those really shitty clients that none of us want to work with. Probably best to start this episode with the importance of first impressions and how you present yourself regardless of your experience level. For those of you that are newer to the industry, if you're just beginning, even if you're still in school, anytime you get in front of a client, and this could be you're sitting doing makeup for talent, you have a special events client, or maybe you're just speaking with someone who could be a potential connection or someone that might hire you. These are all opportunities to create a good first impression. And it's human nature for people to judge you based on the perception that they have of you. Every time you meet a possible connection in the industry, you have an opportunity to build your reputation. And when you're first getting started, you don't have a lot of opportunities to build your reputation because you're not out there as much, you're not going to be working as much, and you're just not going to be in the mix of the industry as much as you would be if you're a more experienced artist. I'm talking to you about this because I want you to keep this top of mind. The faster you can build a good reputation, the faster and easier it is going to be for you to get work. And it's no secret that we're working in a very competitive industry, so you need to take every advantage that you can over another makeup artist to build a good reputation so that you can start creating contacts, you can start networking, and you can start getting paid to work as a makeup artist. It begins with very simple things like how you show up to a job. So making sure you look professional. This doesn't mean you're going to show up in a power suit, but your clothes should be clean. They shouldn't have pet hair all over them. They should smell clean. They shouldn't smell like cigarettes, or you shouldn't be wearing clothes that you wore at the cottage all weekend. And I'm pulling up these examples because I have worked with people who show up like this, and I know my clients comment on it, other makeup artists comment on it. So when I give you these examples, I'm not just pulling them out of thin air. This is stuff that I've actually witnessed on jobs. Showing up, looking professional, making sure you're clean, your clothes are clean, your hair is clean. Remember, we are working in very close quarters with people. You know how easy it is to tell when someone hasn't brushed their teeth, cleaned their clothes, washed their hair. And it's the same for our clients with us. They're very close to us. They can see if we have cat hair all over our clothes. They can tell when our hair is dirty. They can see if our nails are not looking good. They can also tell if we haven't washed our clothes, or, they're close enough to smell what we ate for lunch. These are all things that you want to think about. When you show up looking messy, looking disheveled, that's not professional appearance. I've seen people show up to really big jobs wearing sports bras and tights. And if you want somebody to treat you as a professional, you don't show up to a big job looking like that. It doesn't matter what you see on social media. And I know this is a big one in terms of what's informing your information about how to act in this industry and how to present, but that's just not the way. Make sure your nails look good. If your nail polish is chipped or it looks gross, there's a hygiene issue with that, but just take it off and show up with nothing. Make sure your nails are fine. Make sure your hands are moisturized. And I wish I didn't have to talk about this, but I see so many people showing up like they just got home from the club 2 hours ago and then they went straight to work. This doesn't work. People notice these things and they will judge you on it. And if you want to develop a career, which is I'm sure why you're listening to this podcast, and you want to be paid and you want to be paid well, that's not how you want to show up. These are just basic things. And it goes so far as how you're presenting with your kit as well. And I talk about optics a lot if you've been following my content for a while. Your kit has to be clean and organized and labeled. Even if you've had a crazy day the day before, you have to prioritize making sure you're showing up to every job looking as if your kit has just been cleaned. Yes, there's a hygiene concern when you're showing up with a dirty kit, but when people are sitting in your chair, all they're doing is looking at your station setup. They're going to see if things are dirty. They'll be able to tell if your brushes aren't clean. And this is the fastest way to kill your reputation. So show up looking like a professional. Make sure your kit is always clean and organized. And unfortunately, part of our job is that sometimes we're getting home late from work one day and we have to go early the next day. You've got to clean and reset. So make sure you're prioritizing that, because you never know who you're going to meet on a job. People are always looking at you. They're always looking at your kit. And you want to take every opportunity you can to show your clients you're a professional. You can be trusted. You're going to show up on time. You're going to look good. You're going to be prepared. Because if you don't, there's 20 makeup artists in line behind you who are happy to do all this, who are going to be taking money out of your bank account. Recently, I've had a lot of conversations with the photographers that I've worked with who have stopped working with makeup artists because they're just not showing up in a professional way. It's a real thing. It's not something I'm just pulling out of thin air. And it's not that you have to be dressed to the nines. You have seen me on social media. I am someone that has been on camera for many years at this point. I'm not a fancy dresser. I don't have any designer clothes. It's not something like fashion is not something I'm really interested in. But I make sure that even though I dress simply and plainly, I look put together when I show up. When I go to weddings, I'm very aware that weddings are amazing networking opportunities, but I'm also aware that I'm going to be in people's wedding videos and photos. So I'll wear a black dress pant with a nice fitted black t-shirt so I'm comfortable, but I look polished and I'm not standing out too much. When I'm on sets and there's bigger clients present, or I'm new to the set or the crew, I'll just make sure that I'm just wearing simple clothes that are clean, that still allow me to do my job. I'm not someone that believes in wearing like crop tops and very low cut tops, and I don't like wearing tank tops because I don't want my armpit in somebody's face. I'm probably more on the conservative side, but I'm always putting myself in my client's position, and I'm always thinking about how people are going to perceive me. I will tell you this though, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my career is that I didn't put enough stake in my appearance. Now, my hair haircut is sort of how people know me, and I always make sure that my hair is good. I go every 4 or 5 weeks for a haircut. So that's like part of my look and how people recognize me. I always have a little bit of makeup on, not too much, but I will never go clean face to a job because people want to see that the makeup artist that they're hiring knows how to do their own makeup. I don't do anything crazy because that can sway people one way or another, especially with my personal clients with bridal. But I make sure I have makeup on so I look fresh, I look prepared, and I look put together. And I'll always wear like a simple t-shirt, some jeans or cargo pants, and I like sneakers. So usually like a higher end sneaker or something that's a sneaker that's trending. It's people like to see that. My clients are always commenting on my sneakers. That's how I approach things. But I wish I would have put more time and energy and maybe more money into my appearance because of the simple fact that when you're wearing better quality clothes, when you're wearing like an expensive sneaker, or you have an expensive bag, people are like, oh, this person must be successful. They have all these expensive things, and they do treat you differently. So that's just something upon reflection that I would have done differently, but I'm definitely trying that now more so. And I'm hoping as I make more money during bridal season, I'll be able to kind of reinvest some of my profits in things that are just going to elevate my appearance a little bit more. I'm hoping maybe some new sneakers for the fall, just some expensive denim. I love that. And just a few things here and there that are kind of subtle examples that, hey, it signals to my clients I'm doing okay, I'm making money, I'm qualified, I'm busy. Clients do like to see that. I feel like I just talked about this first point a little bit longer than I should have, but let's move on now to your booking process and procedures. You do want to have some structure and order to your booking process, and there's a million reasons why, but some of the main reasons are you need to keep your bookings organized. You also need to be able to make sure you get all of the information about your booking policies and procedures across to people, and that there's some record of this in case down the road you have some issues. So if you're not doing this already, you want to start thinking about how you've been communicating with your clients up until this point and what you can do to create a system for yourself. If you are like me and you're working across different areas of the industry, this can get a little bit tricky, especially when you're first starting. So how I book my bridal clients is different from how I book commercial clients. But one of the ways you can start to put together a booking process that's very easy to do is anytime you have someone reach out to you, they have to go through your email. So if they come through via text or a DM, let's just say a friend referred you and they gave that person your phone number, immediately put them into your inbox. When you have things via email, you have things laid out more clearly. Sometimes text can go missing, DMs can go missing. And then also when you're communicating via email, you have a format where you can get information across that's recorded. So there's a record of everything that you're telling this person about your booking policies and procedures, so on and so forth. So that's the easiest thing to do. I feel like, especially when you're first getting started, there's a lot of casual bookings that go on. And I hear from makeup artists that, well, this person texted me and wanted to book me and was okay with my rate, but then never texted me back. Put everybody into your email. When you communicate to people, hey, I'm not going to talk about this over DM. I would prefer to do it via email because I have some information that I want to send to you. Just doing this can sometimes deter a lot of those red flag clients, because clients that are questionable are just going to want something quick. They're going to want a quick yes because they don't want to hear about your booking policies and procedures. They don't want more information from you because they don't care. You do want to be able to weed out those people. So that's one thing that you can do. The other thing that's important is just doing things consistently. Even if you have friend, family member that's trying to book you, still put them through your email, still put them through your booking process. If you have specific emails that you would send a stranger, I would suggest sending them to your close circle as well, because this also signals to these people they can't take advantage of you. This is a real job. This is something that you are doing professionally. And we'll talk about professional communication in like 2 seconds from now. Make sure whatever process you put together for yourself, it is consistent with all your clients. That means friends, that means family, that means people that you've never met, because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that we meet, especially in our inner circle, that don't see that this is a real job. They don't see that this is a career choice. They don't understand what it means to run a business and to be an entrepreneur and to work as a creative. Just putting people through into your email, sending the same emails that you would send to a stranger. Obviously, you can edit these and make them a little more informal, but just making sure all of the information about how you want to book your clients is made clear to everybody that connects with you about a job. And just before we get into the professional communication section of this episode, I mentioned that how I book my commercial clients, for example, is a little bit different from how I book my bridal clients, because with my bridal clients, I use a system called HoneyBook, and I have my bridal clients fill out a form with all of the information that I need to know about them and their wedding in order to send a quote. The reason I use a CRM for my bridal clients is because it does keep a record of all of this. I can create forms to send to them, and the information they put in the forms can be put into an invoice for me or a proposal. It's just a software that I use to make things faster administratively for my bridal clients, because there is so much back and forth that can happen when you don't have something like this in place. And if you're new to bridal, this will come in time. You'll figure it out. And I did my bridal without a CRM or without HoneyBook for a very long time. I was very on top of it, and you do have to be very organized, but using a system like HoneyBook, and I'll put a link in the show notes to this so you can read more about it and see what it is. Time is money. So if you're spending a lot of time on the back and forth with your bridal clients or your administration, who's paying you for that, right? And you have to have time for other things that you're doing in your business. So I book my bridal clients that way. I will also book my special event clients through HoneyBook, because usually there's contracts involved, just like bridal. I have to send those contracts, do a digital contract signing. So that's what I use. I don't want to get too into talking about my CRM software right now, but that's what I use for special events, bridal clients. For everybody else, I'm booking them via email. And I have a series of templates that I have put together over the years that I use to make sure I'm communicating professionally. So no spelling errors, no text talk, anything like that. And I'm able to get across the services I provide, my rates, my booking policies and procedures, my cancellation policy, what my overtime is, if I charge for parking, travel. I have these templates so that I can be consistent with every single person that connects with me. I can make sure there's no spelling errors. I haven't screwed up my policies. I also do this through email because there is a record of all of this. If someone says we're not paying you overtime, I can go back into my email and say you agreed to overtime when I asked you to confirm all of this about the job originally. So that's what I do with that. The second thing that you can do in your business, creating email templates from emails that you may be sending regularly or that you've spent time putting together. And this is something that's going to come over time as you figure out how the industry works, as you figure out what makes sense for your booking policies and procedures. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we learn this through trial and error. I did anyway, a lot of us do. Don't expect to have these all together right away. But as you learn more about the industry, as you learn more about the information that is important to get across to your clients, you can create email templates for these. You can save them in your notes. You can save them on Google, whatever works for you. Just start to put them together so that when you connect with clients, one, you are getting back to them very quickly, because that's another advantage with templates. Two, you are writing a professional email quickly, so there's no spelling errors, there's clear communication, there is no text talk, hey babe, all of this stuff, emojis, no. And you'll have a record of this communication. So if there's an issue in the future, or you need to refer back to maybe the rate that you charge this person, or what the cancellation policy was, or what you agreed on, you have something in writing that you can refer back to. If you're curious about some of the templates that I have a bunch of them in my business. Of course, different for bridal versus everything else that I do. But if someone reaches out to me about a job, I have a template where if they haven't sent me a lot of information about the job, I'll reply to them saying, yes, I'm available. I'd like to know how many hours the job is, the location of the job, how many talent, for example. So I have an email template for that. If they send me all this information, I have another email template that will outline my rates, that I charge tax on my rates, how many hours the rate includes, my overtime charges, what that is, and when that kicks in. I also have my cancellation policy. So for example, if they cancel 24 to 48 hours before the confirmed shoot date, I will bill them 100% of the rate. If it's 3 days before, I will bill them 50%. And these policies and procedures, they're going to be different from artist to artist and market to market, unfortunately. If you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I've never heard of this, and you're freaking out internally, don't freak out. It's okay. We're all not the same. And the even more confusing part is that different jobs in the industry are going to have different ways of doing things in terms of how long the days are, what the rates are, if there is going to be overtime, if there should be a cancellation policy or not. You have to figure out what the norm is based on your market, the type of job that you're doing, and how much experience you have. So when I am talking about all of these booking policies and procedures and cancellation fees and all that. I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm at a certain level in the industry, and what I do in terms of all of these booking policies and procedures is what all of my colleagues are doing and friends in the industry. So it's the norm for us. And we know which jobs we would have to have overtime for, which jobs you have to charge cancellation fee for, things like that. You can't expect to know this overnight. Just use this as kind of like, okay, I'm going to think about this for the future. I'm going to be aware of this, but don't go into a spiral freaking out thinking you need to have this right away. No one has this right away. I didn't have it for many years. It's something that you figure out. When you get burned on stuff, you will know for the next job, make sure you charge overtime or make sure you charge travel. If you don't charge enough for a job, you will realize it, and just don't make the same mistake twice. Okay. So when it comes to putting together your professional communication, for now, just go with the basics. Make sure your rate is included, and make sure if you need to be compensated for parking, overtime, and confirm times and dates of jobs and what's required of you on the job, that type of thing. That's where you want to start. And then your templates can change and develop as you get more experience, as you learn the hard way sometimes, but this is how it kind of goes. I really hope I'm not freaking you out right now if you don't have this, but the great thing is, after listening to this episode, you will know, put people through your email, don't be casual about your bookings, and make sure you start to put together some templates. You'll already be ahead of the game by just doing this. So I hope this is helpful for you. I did want to take a few minutes just to talk about establishing boundaries. And I think this is very hard for a lot of us. A lot of us are people pleasers, which is why we're in this job in the first place. A lot of us deal with confidence issues, myself included, and it is hard to put your foot down sometimes. And I think also you always feel like, especially when you're in the early stages, when you set those boundaries, people are not going to want to work with you. So something I want to make it clear that you understand is that setting boundaries is the professional thing to do. If someone does not want to work with you because you've set a boundary, you do not want this client anyways. I can also tell you that those of us who have had a lot of experience in this industry, we are setting boundaries like no other. We are charging overtime. We are charging cancellation fees. We are vocalizing on the job when we don't have enough room or we need a break. I know these things can be very scary when you're first getting started, but I think what's important to know is that this is what a professional does. And you don't have to say yes all the time. There are certain situations where you can let things go and you'll know when it's the right call to do that. But a lot of the times, if you want to not deal with those red flag clients who are going to scam you out of paying you, cancel without notifying you, asking you to work 5 hours extra for the same rate, just things like that, you're going to get rid of all of these when you let your clients know what your boundaries are and you speak up when you're with a client or on a job and things are not as you agreed in the early stages of the booking process. The easiest example I can give you when it comes to setting boundaries, I'll give you one for bridal clients and I'll give you one for non-bridal. For my bridal clients, in the contract that I have, which is a template that I purchased, and I'll link you to the templates that I use if you're interested in this. And just as a side note, please get contract templates in place. If you want to dodge a lot of shady bridal clients, the easiest thing to get rid of these people and get them out of your life is to send a contract over for their wedding day. That is a great way to deter clients who maybe are not going to pay you, who are maybe going to cancel without telling you. I've heard a million horror stories about bridal clients. Get your contracts in place. Just do that right now, especially if you're thinking about doing bridal in any capacity. Please do this because this is what professionals do. And in your contracts, you can set a lot of your boundaries. So in my bridal contracts, I send a contract, and the contract template that I actually use is worded in a way that is very easy for my clients to understand. Some contracts can have too much legal talk, but I also reiterate some of the most important elements of that contract in the emails that I send to them. So I let them know about cancellation policy. I let them know about what happens if they want to not pay me on time, reduce the number of services that we're agreeing to. All of those things are laid out in the contract. The other thing that I do is let them know that when they reach out to me, they can expect to hear back from me in 24 to 48 hours. I also let them know what my business hours are. So Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 is when you're going to get an email back from me. This is a way that I create a boundary with them. It also makes it so that they don't treat me like I'm an on-call person. that can happen very easily with these types of clients. I'm not there to answer a million questions at 10 o'clock at night. So this is a way that you can use a contract to present yourself professionally, deter clients that are shady, but also let your clients know what the boundaries are, what they can expect in terms of working with you. And this really sets the tone for how they're going to communicate with you for that time period between when they book you and when the wedding day is. And it will also ensure that when you show up on the wedding day or to the trial, they're treating you professionally. For all of my other clients that I'm working with, I have a few different email templates just depending on how the communication goes. Sometimes you have clients that want to know your rate, they're interested in working with you, and sometimes you have clients that already have a rate in mind. So I'll have different templates based on that, but essentially the information that I need is if they're okay with my rate or what the rate is, how many hours the shoot is. And then once all of that is sorted out, and also the location, because you need to charge extra for travel if you're traveling out of the city. Once I have all of that information, I'm always sending one, sometimes two confirmation emails that will state they're agreeing to book me at my rate, which is, let's say, for an 8 or 10 hour day. I'll document the time. So let's say it's a 10-hour day. So I'll say what my rate is, mention that I'm charging tax. So it's very clear because we charge tax here in Toronto for a 10-hour day. And then I let them know what my overtime is per hour plus tax, which kicks in after 10 hours. I let them know what my cancellation policy is, if there is one. I let them know what my travel fee is, if there is one. I also will confirm the location, the start time. I just make sure I have everything in one email. And this is what you have to do when you're working as a freelancer. Just a simple act of reiterating all the information that we discussed throughout our communication when it comes to booking me for the job lets these people know I am logging all of this information. I mean business. I'm not trying to work 20 hours and get paid for 8 hours. I will be charging travel. I will be sending you an invoice if something cancels last minute. So that process of sending that email lets my clients know what my boundaries are and that I cannot be pushed in a direction that is outside of what we've discussed already about the job. Some of you may have heard the term deal memo, and if you haven't heard this term before, that's okay. Essentially, when you're a freelancer and you're working on jobs where there isn't a deal memo, the emails that you're sending are just basically almost acting as a deal memo with your clients. And a deal memo is an abbreviated contract with kind of all the administrative and financial or payment information about a job. Now, I have deal memos when I'm working on bigger jobs, higher budget jobs, and they're usually given to me by the producer. And again, it's just a contract that states the number of hours, the rate, if there's overtime. They will have information about the job, the location, if there is an additional kit fee on top of the rate, just stuff like that. But when you're self-employed and you're freelancing and you're working on mid-level or lower level jobs, and a lot of my jobs that I work on are not fancy high budget jobs, they're just regular clients that I have, the email correspondence that you're sending is sort of acting as that contract and acting as that deal memo. So anything that is relevant to booking you for the job, you want to have summarized in an email. So all of those moving parts are in one email, and the payment is the most important. Your cancellation fee, your overtime, it has to be there in writing. When your client books you, you have an agreement in writing about what is going to happen on that job. And this is all part of presenting professionally. Even when you are working with personal clients, let's say you have a friend or a friend of a friend that wants to book you for a makeup application for a wedding they're attending. You want to make sure that you send a confirmation email with the date, the time. You may want to send a calendar invite, and you want to make sure you're very clear on the rate and what your cancellation policy is. This is why communicating professionally, creating those templates is something that is going to help deter a lot of terrible clients. It's also going to help you present more professionally, because what that signals to people who don't know about our industry will look at that stuff and go, okay, this person's like serious. I don't want to, mess with them. But people who are in the industry that have more experience will recognize that you know what you're doing, and that will improve their opinion of you, and you will start to build that reputation as a professional. I feel like we just covered so much in this episode. I don't want you to walk away from this episode freaking out like you're doing something wrong in your business or that you don't know what you're doing. There is no instruction manual for this. There is no playbook for this. A lot of this, unfortunately, one of the downsides of doing this job is that you do have to learn through trial and error. And this is how a lot of us learned. I've been burned so many times. I have made every single mistake in the book, but what I think the key takeaways are from this episode is that you do have to think about how you're putting yourself out there. And I know we're so quick to just send a text or send a DM or email somebody back without paying attention to spelling errors and what we're actually saying in our emails. But the sooner you can take every advantage to show up as a professional and communicate as a professional, the easier things are going to be for you. You're going to get rid of those really shady clients, and you're going to build your reputation as a pro faster, and you will see that people will treat you differently when you start implementing some of the stuff that I've talked to you about in today's episode. I'm going to put some links in the show notes today that are resources that you might find helpful. We touched on a lot of different things. I'll put a link to my CRM software, Honeybook. I think I have an affiliate code to save some money on that. If it's still valid, I'll just include that link for you there. I will share a link to where I purchased my templates for my bridal bookings. Please do that. Don't even think twice about it. It's something you have to buy once. You invest in it. You never pay for anything else again. Just do it if you haven't done it already. And then what else did I want to do? Oh, hygiene. If you are struggling with how to work hygienically as a makeup artist, because I did mention showing up with a clean kit, working hygienically, this does impact your reputation as an artist. I will include a link to my hygiene course for you. That's everything for today's episode. If there's any follow-up questions, you guys know where to find me. Send me a DM on the Artist to Artist Instagram. If you like this content, share this episode with your people, subscribe to the podcast, follow me on the Artist to Artist Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to the Artist to Artist newsletter. I will link you to where you can subscribe to that. If you like the content that I'm sharing in this podcast, the newsletter is just an extension of this. I send some really great stuff to your inbox each week. And that's everything for today's episode. I will talk to you soon. Bye.